Most people think confidence is something you show. A voice that's louder, posture that's stronger, presence that demands attention. We're taught that confidence comes from having a better body, better clothes, a more status, a more money, a more attention, a more approval. And because of this belief, most people spend their lives chasing confidence instead of building it. They chase validation. They chase praise. They chase admiration. They chase the feeling of being seen, being respected, being wanted. But here is the truth the Stoics understood. A truth that 99% of the world still ignores. Confidence does not come from being recognized. Confidence comes from not needing to be recognized. Read that again. Real confidence isn't loud. It isn't flashy. It doesn't need to announce itself. It doesn't need permission to exist. Real confidence is silent, calm, grounded, centered. It's the kind of presence that makes people pay attention without trying. The kind that doesn't ask for respect because it commands it. This is the confidence the ancient Stoics carried. Marcus Aurelius, the emperor of Rome, the most powerful man in the world, was known not for arrogance, but for unshakable calm. Epictetus was born a slave. Yet his presence was so steady, so grounded, that even nobles listened to him. Seneca advised emperors, yet spent his life teaching the strength of simplicity, discipline, and inner sovereignty. What did these men have that most people today do not? They built confidence from the inside, not the outside. They understood that the moment your confidence depends on how others see you, you have already surrendered control of your life to someone else. Because if someone else can give you confidence, they can also take it away. And this is where most people today are trapped. We live in a world measured by attention. How many likes did my post get? How many followers do I have? Do people notice me? Do people approve of me? Do people think I'm attractive, smart, valuable, strong? Every glance from others becomes a mirror that tells us who we think we are. And when your identity depends on that mirror, you can never be stable. A single compliment can lift you up. A single insult can break you. A single rejection can collapse your entire sense of self. And that is not confidence. That is dependence. That is emotional slavery. The Stoics saw this as the greatest weakness a human could have. Because when your emotional stability depends on external approval, your life becomes a performance. You start living for the audience, not for yourself. And here is the painful irony. The more you chase validation, the less confident you feel. Because deep down, you don't believe in yourself, you're hoping someone else will do it for you. But Stoic confidence is the opposite. Stoic confidence comes from self-ownership, self-discipline, integrity, internal standards, calm awareness, stability of mind. It is built in silence, in private, when no one is watching. It is the result of living in alignment with your principles, not your impulses. Your values, not your insecurities. Your choices, not your fears. The Stoics knew, if you do not control your mind, something else will. And once something else controls your mind, whether it is fear, approval, judgment, desire, or ego, you are no longer truly free. So ask yourself, do you want to be seen as confident? Or do you want to be confident? Because those are not the same thing. One is performance. The other is power. One is fragile. The other is unshakable. One is borrowed. The other is owned. So today, in this video, we are going to uncover the secret behind Stoic confidence. Not the confidence of someone who shouts to be heard, but the confidence of someone who does not flinch while the world shakes. The confidence of the man who walks into a room without needing to prove anything. The confidence of the man who is calm in conflict, grounded in pressure, unmoved by opinion, loyal to his principles, and at peace with himself. This is the confidence people feel the moment you enter the room, even before you speak. This is the confidence of the Stoic. And it is something you can build starting today. But first, to understand how to build this confidence, we have to understand why most people never achieve it. Part 1: The modern trap of performed confidence. Today, confidence has been turned into a performance. We live in a culture where people are constantly displaying themselves, not as who they are, but as who they want others to believe they are. And the performance is exhausting. Think about the average day for most people. They wake up, grab their phone, and immediately step into the world of comparison. Scrolling, watching, measuring, judging, feeling judged. We compare our lives to the highlight reels of others. We compare our pace to someone else's progress. We compare our worth to someone else's image. And we do this before we even get out of bed. From the moment the day starts, we are already behind, already chasing something, already trying to prove something. And the pressure is silent but heavy. I have to look a certain way. I have to sound confident. I have to be interesting. I have to be successful. I have to be admired. I have to be someone worth paying attention to. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Most people don't want confidence. They want to look confident. They want the appearance, not the substance. They want the surface, not the depth. They want the approval that comes with confidence, not the inner work required to build it. But confidence built on appearance is weak. Confidence built on validation is fragile. Confidence built on status is temporary. The Stoics would say, "You are building your house on sand," because the moment the world shifts, everything collapses. The social currency of attention. We don't realize it, but attention has become the new currency of self-worth. The question isn't, am I improving? Am I building discipline? Am I becoming wiser and stronger? The question has become, do people notice me? And that is the trap. When you measure your value through the eyes of others, you make your confidence something that must be constantly earned, constantly maintained, constantly fed. It never stabilizes. It never settles. It never roots itself in something real. It becomes conditional. If people praise you, you feel valuable. If people criticize you, you feel worthless. Your emotional state becomes a leaf in the wind. And a leaf cannot be confident. A leaf can only be moved. The cost of external confidence. Let's say you build your confidence on being strong and attractive. What happens when you get older? What happens when someone more attractive enters the room? Let's say you build your confidence on achievements. What happens when you fail? What happens when the momentum slows? What happens when success is no longer instant? Let's say you build your confidence on being admired. What happens when the crowd changes? What happens when trends shift? What happens when the attention moves to someone else? Most people's confidence collapses the moment reality doesn't cooperate. Because their confidence was never theirs to begin with. It belonged to the people watching, the applause, the compliments, the likes, the followers, the attention. When your confidence depends on the audience, you are not living, you are performing. And a performance always ends. The Stoic diagnosis: dependency, not confidence. The Stoics would say, if your peace can be taken away, it was never peace. If your confidence can be taken away, it was never confidence. Real confidence must be something no one can give you, and no one can take away from you. But that requires something most people never learn how to develop. Self-possession, ownership of your mind, ownership of your reactions, ownership of your identity, ownership of your values. This is the foundation of Stoic confidence. Not loud, not aggressive, not arrogant, just anchored, like a boulder in a river. The water moves around it. The storms hit it. The world shifts, but it remains. The psychological prison. When your confidence depends on what others think, you will always be too afraid to take risks, too afraid to be disliked, too afraid to fail, too afraid to be seen as imperfect. So instead of living freely, you live carefully. You speak in a way that's safe. You act in a way that's acceptable. You choose paths that guarantee approval. You avoid anything that risks embarrassment. Your life becomes a negotiation with the fear of judgment. And slowly, without noticing, you stop living for yourself. You live for the audience. And here is the tragedy. The audience was never watching. Because everyone else is too busy worrying about their own audience. No one is actually thinking about you. No one is analyzing you. No one is tracking your flaws. The chains that hold people back are imaginary, but the suffering they cause is real. The Stoic realization. The Stoics realized something that sets them free. You cannot control the thoughts of others. You can only control the strength of your own. So why waste your life being shaped by forces you cannot control? Confidence begins the moment you stop performing and start observing. When you stop asking, "What do they think of me?" and start asking, "What do I think of me?" Not your ego, not your wounds, not your anxiety, your inner judge, the part of you that knows when you are lying to yourself, when you avoided responsibility, when you acted below your standards, when you broke promises to yourself. Confidence is not a feeling. Confidence is the result of alignment between what you say, what you believe, and what you do. When those three are not aligned, you feel weak. When they are aligned, you become unshakable. This is where Stoic confidence begins. Not with appearance, not with popularity, not with attention, but with self-respect. Because self-respect is the only kind of confidence that cannot be taken away. Part 2: What Stoic confidence really is. Most people misunderstand confidence. They think confidence is loud. They think it's bold, charismatic, dominant. They think it's being unshakable, unbothered, and always in control. But Stoic confidence is something quieter, something deeper, something more enduring. It does not need to be seen to exist. Because Stoic confidence isn't about how you look to the world. It's about how stable you are inside yourself. The Stoic foundation: control of the inner self. The Stoics believed that all human suffering comes from one mistake: trying to control what is not in your control. You cannot control what others think of you, how others respond to you, what the world gives you, whether people approve of you, whether life unfolds the way you want. But you can control what you believe, how you speak, how you act, what you value, how you respond. And that is where Stoic confidence is born. Not from dominance, not from perfection, not from certainty, but from self-governance. If you cannot govern yourself, the world will govern you. Confidence as self-trust. Stoic confidence comes from one mastery: trusting yourself to handle whatever happens. Not hoping, not pretending, not forcing, but knowing, no matter what comes, I can face it. This is a different kind of strength, a different kind of courage. It does not depend on things going well. It does not depend on success. It does not depend on approval. It is an internal contract with yourself. I will not abandon myself. And when you no longer abandon yourself, you no longer fear the world. Why most people don't have self-trust. Most people don't trust themselves because they know the truth. They break their own promises. They tell themselves, "I will wake up early. I'll stop procrastinating. I'll go to the gym. I'll stop reacting emotionally. I'll start working on my goals." But they don't follow through. And even if nobody else sees it, they do. And the subconscious keeps the record. Every broken promise to yourself weakens your inner foundation. You cannot respect yourself if you do not listen to yourself. You cannot rely on yourself if you cannot trust yourself. And without self-respect, there is no confidence. Only performance. The Stoic formula for self-trust. The Stoics didn't teach confidence as a belief. They taught confidence as a discipline. A day-by-day practice of doing what you said you would do. Acting according to your values, choosing reason instead of impulse, remaining grounded under pressure. Confidence becomes a consequence, not something you chase, something you earn. Self-trust is created every time you keep a promise to yourself. Choose long-term strength over short-term comfort. Say no to what weakens you. Say yes to what sharpens you. Each decision is a brick. Each day is another layer. Each act of discipline is reinforcement. Confidence is not built in a moment. It is constructed over time. And once it is built, it cannot be shaken by external events, because it was never based on them. The 4 pillars of Stoic confidence. Stoic confidence rests on 4 internal pillars. Think of them as the roots of a tree, invisible but holding everything up. 1. Clarity of values. You know what matters to you and what does not. You are not confused about what you stand for. 2. Control of attention. You do not react blindly. You choose how to perceive events. 3. Discipline of action. You act not out of impulse, but from principle. 4. Emotional anchoring. You can remain calm in discomfort, challenge, and uncertainty. When these 4 are strong, life cannot push you off your center. People can disagree, and you remain calm. Circumstances can change, and you remain stable. Chaos can unfold, and you remain grounded. This is the unshakable center the Stoics trained for. The presence of a Stoic. When you meet a person with Stoic confidence, you can feel it immediately. They are not trying to impress you. They are not seeking validation. They are not performing. They simply are. Grounded, steady, clear, calm. Their presence is not loud. Their presence is felt. Because they don't enter the room trying to take energy. They enter with enough energy of their own. And the world responds to that. Not because they demanded respect, but because they already respected themselves. The shift from external victory to internal mastery. The modern world teaches, be confident so people will admire you. Stoicism teaches, be confident so you no longer need to be admired. The modern world teaches, win, succeed, dominate. Stoicism teaches, win over yourself. Because if you win externally but lose internally, you have lost everything. But if you win internally, you can face anything. Loss, change, failure, judgment, uncertainty, chaos. None of it can break you, because your strength does not come from circumstance. It comes from character. The paradox of Stoic confidence. Here is the paradox. When you no longer need approval, people are drawn to you. When you no longer need to prove anything, people trust you. When you stop trying to look confident, you become confident. Confidence is not something you display. It is something you embody, quietly, calmly, unshakably. Because confidence is not in how you appear to others, but in how anchored you are within yourself. Part 3. The inner enemy. The untrained mind. If Stoic confidence is built within, then the greatest threat to it is also within. The Stoics understood something that most people today never realize. You are not defeated by the world. You are defeated by your own mind's reaction to the world. Not by events. Not by circumstances. Not by what happens. But by the interpretation you attach to what happens. And this is where the real battle is fought. Not outside. Inside. The mind's default state. Chaos. Most minds are not trained. They are reactive, impulsive, chaotic, easily overwhelmed. One comment can ruin your day. One look can make you insecure. One failure can make you doubt your entire purpose. Your mind, if left untrained, responds to everything as if it is a threat. The Stoics called this the unguarded mind. An unguarded mind chases validation, fears judgment, overthinks everything, takes everything personally, reacts before understanding. It becomes controlled by emotion and impulse. This is the enemy within, because confidence cannot exist in a mind that is constantly unstable. The psychological trap, identification. The Stoics pointed out a critical mistake. Most people identify themselves with their thoughts and emotions. They believe, I feel insecure, so I am insecure. I feel nervous, so I am weak. I feel angry, so I am angry. But feelings are weather. They come and go. Your identity is the sky. The sky does not become the storm. It simply contains it. Confidence begins the moment you realize you are the observer of your thoughts, not the thoughts themselves. The root of emotional instability, attachment to outcomes. The untrained mind is attached to outcomes. I hope they like me. I need this to go well. I need things to be how I want them. And when reality doesn't match expectation, suffering. Not because reality was painful, but because expectation was fragile. The Stoics trained themselves to release expectation and instead focus on process. Not, will this go how I want? But, Will I act according to my principles no matter what? Confidence stops being something you try to get from circumstances and becomes something you bring into circumstances. The ego, the saboteur of peace. The ego is always concerned with how you appear. Do they respect me? Do I seem confident? Am I being judged? The ego needs constant maintenance. It is endlessly hungry, and because it is fragile, it is always afraid. The ego is loud, demanding, dramatic. Confidence is quiet, steady, and self-contained. To develop Stoic confidence, you do not add to the ego. You dissolve its control. You shift from, I hope they approve of me, to, I approve of how I choose to act. This is power, real power, silent power, where the battle is lost. Most people lose not because life is difficult, but because they never learned how to sit with discomfort. The untrained mind tries to escape. A boredom phone, stress distraction, uncertainty overthinking, insecurity validation seeking, emotional pain avoidance. Avoidance makes the mind weaker. Discomfort avoided is discomfort multiplied. The Stoics did the opposite. They turned toward discomfort, not to suffer, but to grow stronger than the things that once controlled them. The art of inner stability. The goal is not to eliminate emotion. Stoics felt deeply, but they did not drown in what they felt. They created space between the emotion and the response. That space is where all confidence lives. That moment of pause, that breath, that choice. It is small, but it is everything. The untrained mind reacts. The trained mind responds. Reaction is impulsive. Response is intentional. Reaction is weakness. Response is power. The training begins with awareness. You cannot control what you are not aware of. So the first step is seeing the mind clearly. When insecurity arises, notice it. When fear arises, observe it. When frustration arises, breathe into it. When ego reacts, step back. Say to yourself, a feeling is occurring. That does not mean I must obey it. This is the beginning of separation. This is the beginning of freedom. The Stoic breathing principle. When the mind begins to race, confidence is not restored by thinking harder. It is restored by returning to the body. Slow breathing, grounded posture, steady gaze, calm physiology, calm mind. The Stoics practiced this subtly. Shoulders relaxed, a breath slow and deep through the diaphragm, eyes calm and attentive, a movements intentional, never rushed. This creates presence, the core of confidence. Because confidence is not in the words. It is in the state of being. The moment of power. The most important Stoic skill. Pause before you respond. Not forever. Just long enough to remember who you are. What matters. What is within your control. The pause is where confidence enters. Because confidence comes from choice, not from emotion. The reframe that changes everything. Instead of asking, why is this happening to me? The Stoic asks, what strength is this situation calling me to practice? Situation. Someone insults you. Strength. Patience. Situation. You face uncertainty. Strength. Courage. Situation. You experience loss. Strength. Acceptance. Situation. You feel insecurity. Strength. Self-respect. Life is not against you. Life is training you. The world is a gym. Every challenge is a weight. You grow stronger by lifting it. The inner enemy is not the problem. The insecurity, the overthinking, the fear, the ego, the doubt. These are not problems. They are signals. Signals of where your training is needed. A warrior is not ashamed of the enemy. A warrior learns how to defeat it. With patience, with awareness, with discipline, with practice. Your mind is not your enemy. Your mind is untrained. And what is untrained can be trained. What is unstable can be stabilized. What is reactive can be disciplined. This is the Stoic path. Not to destroy the self, but to build the self. A self that cannot be shaken. Part 4: How to train the warrior within. Stoicism is not something you learn. It is something you practice. Confidence is not something you think about. It is something you become. And becoming requires training. Not aggressive training. Not dramatic training. Not the kind of training where you try to change your whole life overnight. No. Stoic training is subtle, silent, steady, daily. It happens in the small decisions. How you breathe, how you respond, how you speak, how you move, how you think in the quiet moments where no one is watching. This is where the warrior is forged. Not in battle, but in the preparation for battle. The foundation, self-mastery before world mastery. The Stoics believed that there are two battles in life. 1. The battle to control the world. 2. The battle to control yourself. Most people ignore the second battle and chase the first. They try to control how others see them, what others think of them, what others say about them, how others behave, what happens around them. But the Stoics realized, if you cannot command yourself, you are commanded by everything. If your mood changes because someone disagrees with you, you are not free. If your sense of worth rises and falls based on external approval, you are not free. If your peace collapses the moment life does not go your way, you are not free. Freedom begins inside. Control begins inside. Confidence begins inside. So the question is, how do we train that inner control? Practice number 1. The daily pause. A Stoic never reacts instantly. Not to anger, not to insult, not to fear, not to stress. They pause. This pause is not hesitation. It is not weakness. It is awareness. The pause says, something has triggered me. Let me understand it before I respond. Because the response is where your identity is decided. Try this. When someone says something offensive, pause. When something stressful happens, pause. When anxiety rises, pause. Even 1 second is enough. You are teaching the mind, I choose my response. And that is the beginning of inner authority. Practice number 2. The discipline of small promises. Most people fail to build confidence because they make their goals too big, too dramatic, too unrealistic. Stoicism teaches the opposite. Start with small promises and keep them. Example, 10 minutes of reading, 5 push-ups, 2 minutes of breathing, waking up at the same time every day, saying no when something doesn't align with your standards. The size doesn't matter. What matters is consistency. Because every time you keep a promise to yourself, you send a message to your mind. I can trust myself. And that is where confidence comes from. Not motivation, not hype, not affirmations. Trust. Confidence equals self-trust. Practice number 3. Voluntary discomfort. Growth requires resistance. A muscle only strengthens by being challenged. The mind is no different. The Stoics practiced voluntary discomfort, cold exposure, fasting, physical training, simplicity in living, letting go of luxuries, facing difficult conversations instead of avoiding them. Why? Because comfort breeds dependency. Discomfort breeds strength. Ask yourself, what is one thing I am avoiding because it is uncomfortable? That thing is your training ground. Walk toward it, even slowly, even trembling, even unsure. What matters is that you move, because courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is acting while fear exists. Practice number 4. The observer perspective. This is the heart of Stoic mental training. Instead of being consumed by thoughts and emotions, you step back and watch them. You say, a feeling is happening. A thought is appearing. A reaction is rising. Not, I am insecure, but insecurity is present. Not, I am anxious, but anxiety is happening in the mind. You separate identity from experience. This creates space. And in that space you regain control. This is how you stop being the leaf blown by the wind and become the tree that stands through storms. Practice number 5. Choose values over emotions. Your emotions will always try to pull you in different directions. Avoid this. Escape that. Run from discomfort. Seek amusement. Seek approval. But emotions are temporary. Values are permanent. So before every important decision, ask, what action aligns with the man I want to become? Not, what feels good? What is easy? What will make others approve of me? But, what strengthens me? Confidence grows every time you choose strength over comfort. Every time you choose principles over impulses. Every time you choose integrity over convenience. The world will notice. Even if you say nothing. This training is not flashy. There are no dramatic transformations. No sudden enlightenment. No instant new you. The growth is subtle. Day by day. Brick by brick. Breath by breath. Choice by choice. And then one day, without noticing, you are no longer the same person. Things that once triggered you no longer shake you. Situations that once overwhelmed you no longer control you. People who once intimidated you no longer define you. You become still. You become steady. You become rooted. And others will feel it. Not because you show it, but because true confidence is something others sense, not something you perform. Becoming the quiet threat. The person who does not need validation. Cannot be manipulated. The person who does not fear discomfort. Is not controlled by fear. The person who does not react impulsively. Is impossible to destabilize. This is why Stoic confidence feels dangerous. It is quiet power. Invisible strength. Unshakable presence. It is the kind of confidence that doesn't yell. Look at me. It simply is. Part 5, the unbothered state. The Stoic way of moving through life. There is a state of being that the Stoics aimed for. A way of walking through the world that is both powerful and peaceful. Not passive. Not numb. Not emotionless. But unbothered. When people hear unbothered, they imagine someone who doesn't care about anything. But that is not Stoicism. That is avoidance. That is detachment born from fear, not strength. The Stoic is not unbothered because nothing matters. The Stoic is unbothered because they know what matters and what does not. They do not give attention to the meaningless. They do not waste energy on the uncontrollable. They do not trade inner peace for external noise. They conserve their spirit. They spend energy wisely. This is the Stoic advantage in a world of constant distraction and emotional reactivity. The formula for unbothered confidence. Focus on what you control. Release what you don't. This is simple. Not easy, but simple. The untrained mind complicates everything. Creates problems where there are none. It dramatizes events. Takes everything personally. But the trained Stoic mind looks at every situation and asks, where is my control here? If control is present, act. If control is absent, let go. This prevents unnecessary suffering. Most pain in life does not come from events themselves, but from the mind resisting what it cannot change. The three things you truly control. No matter what happens in life, no matter the circumstances, no matter who is in front of you, you always control. 1. Your judgment, how you interpret what happens. 2. Your action, what you choose to do about it. 3. Your attitude, the spirit you bring into it. Everything outside of these is external. Everything external is not you. And if it is not you, it cannot define you. This is what allows the Stoic to remain steady when others fall apart. Because their identity is internal. Their peace is self-generated. Their power is self-maintained. What the unbothered state looks like in daily life. Someone insults you, you do not internalize it. You ask, does this define who I know myself to be? If not, you let it pass. Someone disagrees with you, you do not become defensive. Agreement was never required for truth. Someone leaves your life, you do not beg. You release what chooses to go. Something stressful happens, you do not panic. You breathe. You respond. Your emotional stability is not up for negotiation. You are grounded because your foundation is internal. People will misunderstand this strength. They may say, you don't care. You're cold. You're distant. But you are none of these. You simply do not allow the world to disturb your inner state. This makes others uncomfortable because most people are controlled by their emotions. Most people are controlled by the opinions of others. Most people are controlled by fear of judgment. And when they see someone who is not, someone who is steady, someone who does not panic, someone who does not rush, someone who does not crave attention, it forces them to confront their own lack of control. And instead of growing, they often criticize. Your job is not to convince them. Your job is to continue growing. How the Stoic handles conflict. The untrained mind wants to win arguments. The Stoic wants to preserve internal peace. Winning an argument means nothing if you lose yourself in the process. So the Stoic listens more than they speak. They ask questions instead of defending. They stay calm instead of reacting. Because they understand. If someone is emotional, let them be emotional. You do not need to match their energy. When you remain calm while others lose control, you become the dominant presence in the room. Not through force, not through aggression, but through inner stability. The strength of remaining unmoved. Being unbothered does not mean you don't feel. It means your feelings do not make your decisions for you. It means you feel the emotion, you acknowledge it, you let it pass, and then you choose your action from clarity, not reaction. The world calls this mysterious, intimidating, powerful, but the Stoic calls it normal. This is how a human being is supposed to live, in command of themselves. The presence of the Stoic. When someone has trained their inner world long enough, you feel their presence before they speak. There is no rush in them, no desperation, no neediness, no performance, no insecurity, just steady attention. The Stoics move through life slowly, deliberately, quietly. They are not trying to prove who they are. They are who they are. And that is enough. The quiet confidence that speaks without words. Stoic confidence is not loud. It does not demand acknowledgement. It does not broadcast itself. It does not need recognition. It is not, look at me. It is, I am grounded within myself. People who are loud about their confidence are trying to convince themselves. Those who are certain have no need to speak about it. Their actions reveal them. Their presence communicates them. Their consistency proves them. Power held inside is always greater than power performed. You become unbothered when you realize this. And not everything needs a reaction. And not every comment deserves a response. And not every emotion requires expression. And not every thought must be believed. And not every conflict must be fought. And not every person deserves access to your energy. Most things are noise. Let them pass through you. Your life becomes lighter when you stop carrying what was never yours. The unbothered state is not the end. It is the beginning. Because once you are no longer controlled by fear, ego, or validation, you are finally free to think clearly, love deeply, act purposefully, speak honestly, alive courageously. You begin choosing life based on what is true to you, not based on what keeps others comfortable. And that is where real life begins.